Hello, this is Elizabeth Davis with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you're watching the Video Voters Guide. We, in conjunction with MetroEast Community Media, are here to interview candidates running in the May 2020 primary election. With me today is Jazz Davis. Welcome, Jazz.
Thanks. Nice to be here with you.
Great. Well, let's dive right in with the first question. Please tell us a little about yourself, why you're running for this office, what your unique characteristics are that set you apart from the other candidates.
Sure. For starters, I've lived in this region for a long time, my whole life, in fact, and a lot of family that goes back here. My great-grandfather was also a James, and he also went by Jazz. And so I have a real affinity and sense of connection to this place. I'm a parent of two amazing kids. They're both teenagers now, and they're usually go, 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 except for, of course, now in this pandemic, they're just stay, stay, stay. So we're getting a lot of good family time together, and I'm actually enjoying that. That's maybe one of the silver linings of this terrible time. I've been a community organizer for over 30 years, and I'm a small business owner. I own a wellness center near 12th and Belmont called Awakenings Wellness Center. And I'm a board member of the Equal Vote Coalition, which is a voting reform organization committed to making sure that everybody's vote is counted equally and weighted equally in our elections. I'm a big advocate of protecting and strengthening democracy.
Okay. So this next question is related to COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic and resulting devastation to small business, city employee layoffs, and housing displacement will be with us for some time. How would you seek to address the fallout, including the reduction in city revenue?
That's a great question, and one that a lot of us are wrestling with right now, not only in terms of the city, but also in terms of our own businesses. I've had to shut my business, and I have a lot of therapists that I lease space to, and I've cut everybody's rents down to zero in quite a few cases. And I think it's going to be some combination of community pulling together and helping each other out in terms of how we get through this as a community. Something similar to what I'm doing in my own business. We're going to be having to do citywide where neighbors are helping each other. But in terms of city revenues and what we're doing for the city, I think it's going to come down to getting really creative with our budgeting. I am not interested in seeing us do mass layoffs. I think that just further destabilizes the economy. I'd much rather look at cutting back hours across the board and keeping as many people employed as possible, and even keeping their benefits of full-time kind of benefits while we go to partial hours. And there are other things that we're going to have to do, including potentially borrowing, which is something that's I'm not in favor of doing if we can avoid it, but we probably will have to in this case. And it's something I wish we had a public bank, which is one of my platform positions. Is we need a public bank to give us more resilience in our own economy and keep more control over our own money, and keep our money in the system, the local economy, working for us rather than sending so much interest out of state to big banks. So that's one of the things I'd like to see us do is actually petition the legislature immediately. First, petition the governor to hold an emergency session of the legislature as early as August, and then petition that emergency session for the enabling authority to create our own public bank so that we can begin to get a better grasp on our own money and keeping it local and working for us. So there's several ideas, and there'll be a lot of other creative thinking that goes into resolving this, kind of addressing this crisis. Those are the ones I'm starting with.
Okay, great, thanks. So the next question So if we were to maintain our current government structure, what city bureau would you want to oversee and why?
Definitely parks. And it's because parks actually intersects with several of the interests that I have in terms of working with the houseless population. Currently, the parks employees are often first line of interaction with homeless people, and I think there's opportunities for connecting with and helping create more stability for houseless community through parks, but also parks. I'm interested in parks because it gives me a chance to work on another key area of my platform and my priorities, which is creating more food stability in our region and food resilience. And we're already seeing the impact of this particular pandemic on food systems globally. And I think it's important that we become less reliant on outside food sources in the future, that we have more food stability locally and more food resilience locally. And we can do a lot of education around food growing, gardening, urban farming, food preservation, putting up a lot of food sharing, and food preparation. And a lot of that education can happen through our community centers, and a lot of the education can happen right on parks properties in the form of additional gardening, like community gardening spaces. So I see parks as, and our community centers as an integral part of creating a more resilient Portland. And that's one of the things that I came into this race advocating for, is getting more resilient so that we can be addressing the impacts of climate change and peak oil, which are now with us and will continue to be with us for the rest of our lives. It's ironic that I came into the race and then, within a month, I came into the race saying we need to prepare for crisis, we need to be ready, and we need to be more resilient as a people in a city. And then within a month, everything that I've been advocating is borne out. It's like, yes, these are important issues. It hasn't changed my positions at all. It's just strengthened and reinforced the very reasons why I'm running. So.
Great. Thank you for that answer. So the next question is, how would you address the public's significant concerns about police/community relations, use of deadly force, and officer accountability?
Those concerns are need to be addressed, and I am definitely in favor of having a very open, public, transparent and public participation in the upcoming contracting process for our police, because we're about to create a new union contract, and I think that public involvement is going to be key to creating a better contract going into the future. I am committed to supporting independent police review and giving that police review authority to compel officer testimony and to recommend disciplinary actions. I want them to be able to consider deadly force incidents. I actually do believe it should be easier to dismiss officers that we find are not behaving up to the standards of what we would expect our police to be behaving in the city of Portland. And I'd like to see an increase in transparency of our record keeping, and I think that that's also an important part of so that we're able to track better incidences over time.
Okay, great. Well, that's all the time we've got. Really appreciate you talking with us. So this has been the Video Voters Guide. Thank you for watching. The primary election is Tuesday, May 19th. Be sure to inform yourself about voters and the ballot measure and exercise your right to vote.